The stars hung silent above the barren mining world. A grey planet, scarred by endless craters, floated in the darkness of space. Deep below its surface, alien miners worked day and night, trying to break through the hardest rock they had ever encountered. The reward was precious, a rare crystal that fueled starships across the galaxy. Without it, fleets would weaken and colonies would fall silent. But the mine had become a nightmare. Machines sparked and broke. Plasma drills burned out. Even the most advanced alien cutters made only shallow marks on the black stone. Weeks passed. The miners' voices grew tired, their hands heavy. Every strike felt useless. Inside the command dome, the Council of Overseers gathered. Their glowing eyes reflected frustration. One spoke sharply. "This planet is impossible. We must leave before we waste more time." Another shouted back, "If we abandon it, we lose half our supply. Our fleets will starve." Their voices echoed, filled with fear. Silence fell when the chief engineer entered. He placed a shattered drill core on the table. "We have tried everything," he admitted. "Nothing breaks this rock. Not our fire, not our machines." "It is as if the planet itself refuses to give up its treasure," the council murmured in despair. Some suggested retreat. Others argued for more machines. But one voice, trembling, spoke something unexpected. "There is another option." A message came. From Earth, the chamber grew still. Earth, so small, so new in the stars, barely trusted by the great civilizations. A world of fragile flesh, of primitive tools. What could they offer? The overseer sneered. "Humans, they are children. They dig in dirt with metal sticks. What could they know of this?" Another chuckled bitterly. "Perhaps they want to sell us their shovels." Yet the message had been clear. "We can help. Send us the details. Let us try." For days the council debated. Pride and fear clashed. To admit weakness to humans was humiliation. To reject them might mean losing everything. Finally, desperation won. A single answer was sent. "Come." And so, days later, under the shadow of the mining dome, the humans arrived. The aliens gathered to watch the strange newcomers. A group of men and women stepped from their shuttle, their boots crunching against the dust. They were smaller than most species, soft-skinned, fragile-looking. Yet there was a strange calmness in their eyes, as if the weight of danger did not touch them. Behind them came crates, heavy metal boxes carried with effort. The aliens leaned forward, curious. Were these advanced drills? Plasma cutters? Some new invention? But when the first crate opened, confusion spread. Inside lay bundles of cords, black cylinders, and bags of powder. The overseer frowned deeply. "What is this?" he demanded. The human leader, a man with sharp eyes and dust-stained clothes, simply smiled. "Explosives," he said. The aliens broke into laughter. Explosives, blunt, dangerous, ancient tools of chaos. Entire empires had left such crude methods behind millennia ago. One alien worker muttered, "They will blow themselves up before they touch the rock." Another whispered, "Fools, children playing with fire." Yet the humans worked calmly. They studied the rock walls, tapping gently, listening. They marked lines and placed the strange sticks into cracks with careful hands. Every move seemed precise, measured. The overseer shouted, "This is madness. You cannot blast open a mine. You will destroy everything inside." The human only answered quietly, "Watch." The miners retreated to a safe distance. The humans connected wires, then pressed a switch. For a heartbeat, the world was silent. Then came the thunder. The ground shook like a living beast. A roar tore through the tunnels, dust exploding outward in a violent storm. Rocks split, walls trembled. Aliens shouted, terrified. Some believed the entire mine would collapse, and then silence again. The dust hung heavy in the air. The aliens coughed, their hearts racing. "They destroyed it," one said in horror. "The crystals are gone." But through the haze, the humans walked forward calmly, their lamps glowing. Slowly the dust cleared, and what lay revealed made the aliens freeze in disbelief. The black rock was split open perfectly. Inside, untouched by cracks, glittered veins of shining crystal. Not a single shard was lost. The impossible stone had yielded not to machines, not to fire, but to human hands. The human leader turned, his face lit by the glow. "That," he said simply, "is how we mine." The aliens stood speechless. What they had thought was reckless chaos was in fact something else entirely, controlled destruction. balanced with precision, and in that moment, deep in the forgotten mine of a barren world, humanity's secret was revealed. They were not weak. They were not primitive. They were something far more dangerous, masters of turning chaos into order. The overseer whispered almost to himself, "If this is true, then the humans may change everything." The story had only just begun. The aliens could not stop staring at the glowing crystals. Their disbelief hung heavy in the dusty air. They had tried everything: machines, plasma cutters, sonic drills, but nothing had worked. And yet these humans, with their strange cords and black cylinders, had cracked the unbreakable stone in a single attempt. The overseer's voice trembled with anger and confusion. "Impossible. This should not work. Your method is chaos. You could have destroyed the entire mine." The human leader, who introduced himself only as Mason, brushed the dust from his jacket. His calm voice carried confidence. "Explosives are not chaos. They are mathematics, balance, and timing. On Earth, we learn to shape mountains, dig tunnels through granite, and build cities beneath stone. This rock is no different. It only pretends to be impossible." The alien miners whispered among themselves. Some shook their heads, unable to accept what they had seen. Others looked at the humans with a new fear. One miner muttered, "They can bend destruction to their will." Mason and his team wasted no time. They returned to their crates, pulling out more equipment. Cables, detonators, strange powder bags. It all looked crude to alien eyes, like toys of a forgotten age. And yet the humans handled them with the precision of surgeons. Every motion was careful, every placement thought out. One young alien miner, curious but skeptical, finally asked, "Why not use plasma cutters like we do? They burn clean, no risk." Mason paused, glancing at the alien. "Because plasma cuts the surface. It is good for shallow work. But when the stone is deep, when it resists, fire alone is useless. Fire burns, explosives break, and once it is broken, you can take what you need." His words carried weight, but the overseer was unconvinced. He pointed at the wall of black stone still looming ahead. "Then prove it again. Show us this." "Control." Mason nodded without hesitation. His team spread out. They walked along the tunnels, tapping the walls, listening for echoes, searching for weaknesses invisible to the alien eye. They marked spots with chalk, then drilled small holes by hand, not with great machines but with simple, stubborn tools. Into these holes, they slid slender sticks of explosives. The aliens exchanged nervous glances. To them, it felt reckless, primitive, but they could not look away. When everything was ready, Mason raised his voice. "Clear the tunnel." The aliens pulled back, hurrying into the safety chamber. The tension was thick. Their minds screamed that this was madness, that the mine would collapse, that the crystals would be lost forever. The humans checked their lines, wires glowing faintly. Mason gave a small nod. A switch clicked. Again, the mine roared. The ground trembled like thunder beneath their feet. Dust exploded through the air, a wave of sound shaking the chambers. Aliens cried out, clutching walls, their fear rising. But just as before, silence returned. Slowly, the dust cleared. Mason and his team entered first, their flashlights cutting through the haze. Then the aliens followed, hearts racing. What they saw made their jaws fall open. The stubborn stone wall had shattered into perfect fragments, each piece lying harmlessly at their feet. And within the broken rock shone not scattered shards, but a massive vein of the glowing crystal, exposed as cleanly as if it had been waiting to be taken. One alien fell to his knees, running his hand along the untouched surface of the crystal. "It is flawless," he whispered. The overseer, who had doubted most, stood frozen. His authority felt smaller now, as if the mine itself had betrayed him by obeying human hands. He turned to Mason. "How can you do this? It makes no sense. Explosives destroy. How do they not destroy this?" Mason's gaze was steady. "Because we do not fight the stone. We listen to it. Every rock has a weakness. Place the charge wrong, and yes, you bring ruin. Place it right, and the rock gives way like a door opening. This is not destruction. It is persuasion." The aliens were silent, struck by the strange wisdom. To them, explosives were nothing but tools of war. To humans, they were something else entirely, an art. But not all were convinced. A council member hissed quietly, "This is dangerous. Too dangerous." If their blasts fail even once, the mine collapses and we lose everything. Another leaned closer, whispering, or worse. They could use this skill on us. The overseer heard their murmurs but said nothing. His eyes were fixed on the crystals glittering in the lamplight. For the first time in weeks, hope felt real. Mason turned away, giving orders to his team. They began measuring deeper tunnels, preparing for something greater. The aliens realized the humans were not done. This was only the beginning. A young alien miner finally spoke with awe. "You're not afraid, not even of failure." Mason gave a small smile. "Fear is natural. But on Earth, if we had stopped at fear, we would never have built our cities, crossed our oceans, or reached the stars. Sometimes, to move forward, you must walk with fire in your hands." The words lingered in the chamber, sharp and heavy like the scent of smoke. The aliens felt a chill. These fragile creatures with soft skin and mortal bones carried something far more powerful than machines, the will to bend danger itself into a tool. As the humans set up for their next blast, the overseer whispered to himself, "Perhaps we were wrong to laugh at them." And somewhere deep in the tunnels, hidden beneath layers of black stone, a larger deposit of crystal waited. The humans had already chosen it as their next target. The aliens did not yet know. This would be the test that decided everything. The mine held its breath. The story was far from over. The tunnels were quiet, but the silence was heavy, as if the stone itself listened. The aliens stood back, watching the humans prepare for another blast. Fear and curiosity pulled at them at the same time. Mason walked slowly along the tunnel wall, tapping with a metal rod, pressing his ear against the stone. He listened, as though the rock spoke a language only he could hear. When he finally stopped, he marked a spot with chalk. His voice was steady. "Here, this is where it will break." The aliens leaned forward. To their eyes, the wall looked solid, unbreakable, the same as every other place. But Mason and his team moved with confidence, drilling small holes, sliding in the slim sticks of explosive with the care of jewelers setting stones. One alien engineer, still doubtful, asked, "How do you know where to place them?" "We see no weakness." "There are none." Mason didn't look up. "Every stone has a fault. Sometimes it is a crack, sometimes an echo in the sound. You cannot see it with your eyes, but it is there. If you find it, even a mountain will open." The alien fell silent. He wanted to argue, but he had no answer. Soon the humans had finished their setup. Cords trailed across the tunnel floor, leading to the detonator. Mason signaled for everyone to step back. The aliens moved quickly to the safe chamber, whispering nervously to one another. "This time it will fail." They were lucky before. What if they bring the ceiling down on us all? Yet none of them could leave. Their eyes stayed fixed on the humans, as if trapped by some strange force. The signal came. A soft click. The explosion roared like thunder, echoing through the mine with terrifying force. Dust rolled out in waves, covering everything. The aliens shielded their faces, coughing and stumbling. A deep crack echoed, shaking the ground as though the planet itself cried out. When the dust settled, the humans were already moving forward, their flashlights cutting beams through the darkness. Slowly the aliens followed, their hearts pounding, and then they saw it. The stone wall was gone, split cleanly apart. In its place, stretching like a river of light, glittered a massive vein of crystal. The glow filled the chamber, washing the walls in blue fire. The aliens gasped in awe. One miner whispered, "It is larger than anything we have ever seen." The crystals lay untouched, not a single piece cracked or broken. The humans had blasted the stone apart without harming what lay within. It was impossible. It was genius. Mason turned, his face calm in the glow. "Do you believe us now?" The overseer could not answer. His throat was dry. He had seen miracles before, machines that healed flesh, ships that crossed galaxies, but never something like this. Not raw power, not destruction, but control over destruction. Another council member spoke in a low voice. "Your methods, they are dangerous." Mason's eyes were steady. "Danger is part of life. On Earth we faced mountains, oceans, storms. Nothing was safe, so we learned to live with risk. But risk can be shaped. Danger can be mastered." The words sank into the chamber. For a moment no one spoke. Then a young alien worker stepped forward. His scales were coated in dust, his hands shaking but his eyes shone. "Teach me," he said.
"Show me how you do this." The overseer snapped in anger. "Silence!"
"These methods are not for us. They are reckless, unworthy of study." But more miners stepped forward, their voices rising. They freed the crystal when no machine could. They did what we could not. Why should we not learn? The overseer's authority wavered. He looked at the humans, his pride battling his fear. Mason said nothing. He simply placed a hand on the wall of the mine and tapped it softly, listening again. Then he turned to the aliens. "The next chamber will be harder. The rock is unstable. If we are wrong by even a little, the whole tunnel may collapse." The aliens froze. Collapse meant death, buried beneath endless stone. The overseer shouted, "Then stop. We cannot risk it." But Mason shook his head. "The largest deposit lies beyond. If you want it, this is the only way." The silence stretched. Fear pressed against every heart. Finally, the council leader spoke, his voice sharp but trembling. "Do it. But if you fail, the blame is yours alone." Mason only nodded. His eyes betrayed no fear. His team began again, moving with calm precision. Drilling, measuring, marking. They worked like artists painting on stone, every movement exact. The aliens watched in silence now, their earlier mockery gone. At last, the charges were set. Mason stood back, hands resting on the detonator. For a long moment, he looked at the wall as though seeing through it. Then he pressed the switch. The explosion tore through the tunnels, the loudest yet. The ground buckled, the air filled with choking dust. Aliens cried out in panic, believing the mine had finally collapsed. When the dust began to clear, the tunnel ahead was a ruin of broken rock. But as the humans stepped forward, light shimmered once again. The unstable wall had opened like a door, and behind it lay a cavern filled with crystals so vast they looked like stars fallen to the ground. The aliens were speechless. It was not just a vein. It was a treasure that could power fleets for generations. The young miner whispered almost in fear. They command destruction." The overseer stared, his voice low. "No, they command the impossible." And deep within that cavern of glowing light, respect for humanity began to grow, though mixed with something darker, awe and fear. The story had only just begun. The cavern glowed like a dream. Crystals stretched from floor to ceiling, their light washing over the dust and broken stone. The aliens stood in silence, their eyes wide, their hearts pounding. They had never seen so much wealth, so much power, hidden in one place. For a moment, no one spoke. The beauty of the cavern silenced even the loudest doubters. But slowly, whispers began to rise. We could power fleets for centuries. This much crystal could decide wars. It belongs to us now. But one voice trembled with fear. What if the humans break it? What if one mistake shatters everything? The overseer turned, his sharp gaze fixed on Mason and his team. "You have opened much. But this..." He gestured at the massive cavern. "This is too dangerous. The rock above is unstable. A wrong blast and the ceiling will fall. We will lose everything." Mason studied the walls, his lamp tracing cracks hidden in the stone. His face was calm, but his words carried weight. "Yes, the rock is unstable, but it can be done. On Earth we learned how to hold mountains with fire. If we place the charges in balance, the ceiling will not fall. It will open." The overseer snapped back. "Or it will bury us alive." The miners whispered nervously, torn between fear and hope. The crystals tempted them, glowing like silent fire. But the danger pressed heavy, and none wanted to step forward. Finally, Mason turned to his own team. "We've seen worse," he said quietly. His men and women nodded without hesitation. To them, this was not madness. It was routine. One alien miner, the youngest of them all, stepped forward. His scales shivered, but his voice was steady. "Let me help," the overseer hissed. "No, you will not touch their madness." But the young miner's eyes stayed locked on Mason. "Teach me," he said. "Show me how to listen to the stone." Mason studied him for a long moment, then gave a small nod. He placed the metal rod in the alien's hand. "Tap, listen. The stone will tell you where it wants to break." The alien struck the wall softly, pressing his ear close. At first he heard nothing, just emptiness. But then a faint echo whispered back. His eyes widened. "Here, I hear it," Mason smiled. "Good, that is the beginning." The overseer's anger burned. "Stop this. You're poisoning their minds with your reckless tricks. We should use machines, not chaos." But the council leader raised a hand. His voice was calm but heavy. "Enough. Machines failed us. The humans did not. If they say this can be done, then we must let them try." The overseer fell silent, but rage smoldered in his eyes, and so the work began. The humans moved like dancers in the cavern, marking spots with chalk, drilling holes in perfect lines. The young alien followed, nervous but eager, copying their movements. Dust filled the air, but their precision never faltered. Each explosive was placed with care, as if they were setting jewels into the heart of the world. The other aliens watched from a distance. Their fear grew with every step. If this fails, the cavern will collapse. They gamble with our future. They are mad. But none could deny the humans' confidence. Every gesture carried purpose, as if they had done this 1,000 times before. At last, the charges were set. The wires stretched across the cavern floor, leading to the detonator. Mason stood before it, his face lit by the glow of the crystals. The overseer shouted, his voice echoing like thunder. "If you do this and the ceiling falls, you doom us all." Mason did not answer. He only looked at the crystals, then at his team. He gave a single nod. The young alien whispered, almost in prayer, "Let it work." The switch clicked. The explosion tore through the cavern, the loudest yet. The walls shook violently. Dust rained from above, stones cracking loose. For a heartbeat, the aliens thought the ceiling would fall. Screams filled the chamber, but then the rumble stopped. The dust cleared slowly, drifting like fog. When the cavern became visible again, the aliens gasped. The ceiling had not collapsed. Instead, a new passage had opened, carved cleanly by the blast. The unstable rock had fallen away in perfect balance, leaving the crystals untouched, shining brighter than ever. The humans stepped forward calmly, their lamps glowing. Mason turned back to the council, his voice steady. "You see, it is not destruction, it is precision. Even the most dangerous stone can be persuaded to yield." The council leader's eyes narrowed, but there was respect in his voice. "Perhaps you are not as reckless as we thought." The overseer, however, stayed silent. His hands clenched tight, his pride burning. The young alien miner stood beside Mason, his heart racing with excitement. He had seen the stone open. He had heard its voice. He whispered softly, "I want to learn more." And deep within the cavern, unseen cracks spread quietly through the rock. The next blast would be harder still. The mine had given its treasure, but it demanded a price. The story was not finished. The cavern was alive with light, but the beauty did not hide the danger. Cracks ran across the ceiling like veins, and every tremor made dust fall in small showers. The aliens stood together, staring upward in fear. "This is madness," one whispered. "The mine will bury us." Another shook his head. And yet, they have not failed once. Mason and his team moved quietly, studying the walls, tapping with their rods, tracing every fracture with their eyes. They were calm, but the tension in the air was heavy. The next blast was different. The crystal lay deeper now, hidden behind layers of unstable rock. One mistake could bring everything down. The council gathered near the entrance. Their voices rose in argument. "We cannot allow them to continue. But if they succeed, we gain more crystal than ever before. They play with fire. One wrong step, and we are finished." The overseer stood apart, his face shadowed by the glow. His anger was not only fear of collapse. It was something darker, resentment. Every crystal freed by human hands was proof of alien failure, and he could not bear it. Meanwhile, the young alien miner followed Mason closely. His eyes were wide with awe as he watched the humans at work. He asked questions in a hushed voice, and Mason answered with patience. "This crack here, why not place an explosive?" the alien asked. "Because it runs too shallow," Mason explained. "If we break it, the ceiling will fall. We go deeper, where the stone is stronger." The young alien nodded, slowly beginning to understand. He felt pride in learning, but fear pressed at his chest. The stone groaned above them as if warning them all. At last, the humans finished preparing. Dozens of charges lined the unstable rock. Wires snaked across the cavern floor. The team checked every connection twice, then 3 times. Mason stood silently for a moment, listening to the cavern. His eyes were calm, but his hand rested firm on the detonator. The overseer shouted, his voice sharp with fury. "Stop this. If you continue, the ceiling will crush us. Better to take what we have already won and leave." Mason looked at him, his voice low but steady. "Fear does not build. It only leaves you empty. If you want the heart of this cavern, you must risk the fire." The overseer spat back. "And if you fail?" Mason's eyes did not waver. "Then we die trying." The words silenced the chamber. To the aliens, it sounded insane. To the humans, it was simple truth. Finally, the council leader gave a slow nod. "Do it." The miners retreated to the safety chamber, their hands shaking, their voices trembling. The humans stayed close to the detonator. The young alien, torn between fear and fascination, refused to leave Mason's side. "I will stay," he said. The overseer glared at him in fury. "You are a fool." But the young alien stood firm. "I will learn." Mason placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then watch closely. This is the hardest lesson." The switch clicked. The explosion that followed was like nothing before. The entire cavern roared, the sound a living storm. The ground buckled, walls shuddered, and great slabs of stone fell from the ceiling. Dust filled the air so thickly that no one could see. The alien screamed, believing death had come. Collapse. "They've killed us all." The mine is lost. The tremors rolled on, endless, until at last they faded. Silence followed, heavy and absolute. Slowly, shapes appeared in the dust. The humans walked forward, lamps glowing. Mason's voice cut through the silence. It held. The aliens opened their eyes, their fear turning to disbelief. As the dust cleared, the sight struck them speechless. The unstable wall was gone. In its place stretched a vast chamber of crystal, larger than any before. The glow filled every corner, brighter than sunlight, shining like 1,000 stars trapped in stone. And the ceiling, though scarred, had not fallen. The young alien gasped, his chest tight with awe. "It survived," Mason nodded. "Because it wanted to. The stone always tells you what it will allow. You just have to listen." The aliens stepped forward in wonder. Their laughter, their shouts of joy filled the chamber. The impossible had been done. But even in the celebration, whispers of fear spread. One miner murmured, "If they can do this to stone, what could they do to us?" The overseer stood silent, his pride broken, his eyes dark with hatred. He saw not just miners with explosives, but a species that bent chaos itself to their will. And in his heart, a dangerous thought began to grow. The young alien stood proudly beside Mason. For the first time, he felt not fear of humans, but admiration. "You are not destroyers," he said softly. "You are builders. With fire." Mason gave a small smile. "Exactly." But deep above, hidden cracks spread further, waiting. The mine was not done testing them. And beyond the cavern, unseen eyes were already watching, waiting to steal the human's secret. The real danger had only begun. The cavern glowed like a captured sun. The crystal walls shone brighter than fire, throwing light across every face. The aliens could not look away. They had never seen such power freed without destruction. For the first time in memory, hope filled their eyes. But not all felt hope. In the corner, the overseer's jaw clenched tight. His pride burned like acid. Each cheer, each whisper of awe for the humans struck him like a blade. He had ruled the mines with fear for years. Now fear itself was turning against him. Mason and his team worked without pause. They inspected every crack, every fracture, moving through the cavern as if guided by unseen lines. Their tools tapped, their lights scanned, their voices remained steady. To them it was not magic. It was listening to the stone as if it breathed. The young alien followed them, his face glowing with excitement. He mimicked their movements, repeating Mason's words under his breath. "The stone speaks. We listen." He felt alive, as though he had stepped into a new world. Others noticed. A miner whispered, "He is learning their ways." Another shook his head. "Maybe that is dangerous." The overseer's eyes narrowed. He saw his people's loyalty slipping step by step. If humans could teach even one alien to shape stone with fire, what use was his authority? That night, deep in the cavern, while the humans rested, The overseer gathered a small group of loyal miners. Their faces were tense, their voices low. "These creatures are not saviors," he hissed. "They are conquerors. Today they cut stone, tomorrow they cut us." "But overseer," one whispered, "they saved us. Without them the cavern would have collapsed." "Saved us? No. They showed us that they can command even the earth beneath our feet. If they can tame stone, they can tame us. Will you kneel to them like slaves?" The word spread like poison. Fear twisted into suspicion. By morning, whispers crawled through the camp. Some aliens looked at the humans with awe. Others looked with unease. Respect and fear were now tangled together. Mason sensed it. He saw the sideways glances, the sudden silence when he passed. He spoke quietly with his team. "They're watching us differently now." One miner nodded. "It was bound to happen. We touched something sacred to them." "Sacred or not," Mason said, "we did what had to be done." The young alien approached Mason that morning, holding a shard of crystal. His hands trembled not from fear, but from excitement. "I studied the fracture line just as you taught. I think I can place a charge." Mason's eyes searched his face. He saw the hunger to learn, but also the risk. "Not yet," Mason said firmly. "The stone doesn't forgive mistakes. Watch longer." The young alien's shoulders fell, but in his heart, the fire to prove himself grew stronger. That day, the humans prepared another controlled blast. The council gathered to watch, their eyes filled with both curiosity and fear. This time, Mason allowed the young alien to help carry the wires, to see the placement up close. The boy's chest swelled with pride. When the switch clicked, the explosion thundered, but the stone held. A new chamber opened, spilling more crystal light into the dark. The aliens gasped again. Joy rippled through the crowd, yet in the back, the overseer's fury boiled. Every success of the humans weakened his grip. Every blast that did not kill them made them stronger. That night, while others celebrated, the overseer crept into the storage chamber. His hand shook as he lifted one of the explosives left unattended. Its metal gleamed under the faint glow of the crystals. His eyes narrowed. "If they fall," he whispered, "then fear will return to me." But before he could leave, the young alien stepped into the chamber. His eyes widened when he saw the overseer holding the device. "What are you doing?" The overseer froze. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then his voice turned dark. "I am saving us, before they enslave us all." The boy shook his head, his voice rising. "No, they are not enslavers. They are teachers. They risk themselves for us." The overseer's hand tightened on the device. "You are blind." The boy stepped closer, his voice trembling but strong. "And you are afraid. That is the only chain here, fear." The overseer's eyes flashed with rage. He lunged forward, grabbing the boy's arm. The device clattered to the ground. Sparks flared, then died. "Stay silent," the overseer hissed, "or you will vanish in the tunnels and no one will ask why." The boy's heart pounded, but he met the overseer's stare. "I will not be silent. I will stand with them." For the first time, the overseer saw it, defiance in the eyes of one of his own. A seed planted by the humans. His rage turned cold, heavy, and sharp. He released the boy and stepped back into the shadows. "Then, you have chosen your side." The boy stood alone in the storage chamber, his chest heaving. The crystal shard still glowed faintly in his pocket, warm against his skin. He whispered to himself, "I will not turn back." But somewhere deeper in the mine, the overseer's footsteps echoed, carrying his hatred forward. The humans had shown fire could build. The overseer would soon show that fire could also destroy. The mine was alive with light. Veins of crystal shimmered across the walls, glowing brighter than torches, brighter than the sun. The aliens had never imagined such treasure could be freed. The council whispered among themselves, already planning how much energy these crystals would give to their fleets. But Mason felt something wrong in the air. The workers were restless. Some eyes glowed with gratitude, but others burned with suspicion. He could feel the overseer's shadow still moving among them. That night, while the camp slept, the overseer struck. He crept into the storage chamber again, hands steady now, fueled not by fear but by rage. He planted explosives in the tunnels where humans had worked hardest, where the walls were weakest. His plan was simple. When the blast went off, the tunnels would collapse, burying the humans and their new allies under tons of stone. Their knowledge would die with them. His power would return. But someone saw him, the young alien. He had followed in silence, heart pounding, refusing to let the Overseer's darkness spread unchecked. When he saw the charges hidden along the walls, horror filled him. He ran as fast as his legs could carry toward Mason's tent. "Mason!" he cried, shaking him awake. "The Overseer, he set explosives. He means to bring the cavern down." Mason's eyes snapped open. There was no hesitation. He shook his team awake, voices sharp, movements quick. "Grab your gear now." They raced into the tunnels, their lamps cutting through the dark. The young alien led them, pointing to the glowing wires hidden behind rocks. Mason's hands worked fast, disarming what he could, sweat pouring down his face. His team scattered, pulling devices from cracks, cutting cords with trembling hands. But there were too many, too deep, too close to the heart of the cavern. Then Mason froze. His light caught a timer, blinking red, numbers dropping fast. "Too late," he whispered. The cavern thundered. A roar tore through the tunnels. The ground shook, walls splitting open. Dust exploded like a storm. Aliens screamed, running for their lives. Crystals shattered, their glow flickering in the chaos. Mason grabbed the boy, shoving him behind a rock wall. His team pressed flat as the blast raced past. The cavern shook, as if the planet itself was breaking apart. And then silence. The dust slowly settled. The cavern was broken but not gone. The crystals still glowed, though many lay shattered on the ground. Miners coughed, eyes wide, covered in ash. The Overseer stepped forward, his face filled with triumph. "See?" he shouted. "This is what their fire brings. Chaos! Ruin!" He raised his arm, pointing at Mason. "They are destroyers, nothing more." The crowd wavered. Fear twisted with doubt. Some stared at Mason, their hope flickering. But then the boy stepped forward, his voice trembling but strong. He held up the crystal shard Mason had once given him. "No, it was not them. It was him. I saw it. He planted the charges. He tried to bury us all." Gasps filled the cavern. Dozens of eyes turned to the Overseer. His sneer faltered. "Lies," he hissed. "This child is poisoned by them." But Mason spoke calmly, his voice carrying through the dust. "We came here to open stone, not to bury lives. Look at the fractures. Look at the pattern. That was no accident. That was sabotage." The miners looked at the walls, the broken lines, the strange placements. Slowly the truth settled over them like cold ash. The Overseer's voice rose again, desperate. "You fools! You would trust them over me? Over one of your own?" The boy stepped closer, his shard glowing faintly in his hand. "You are not one of us anymore. You chose fear. We choose fire," the Overseer roared, lunging at him. But before he could strike, the crowd surged. Hands grabbed, pulling him back. His screams echoed through the cavern as the miners dragged him away, his power broken at last. Silence fell again. The miners stood waiting, their eyes turned to Mason. Mason looked at the shattered walls, the broken crystals, the survivors covered in dust. His voice was quiet but steady. "Stone breaks, fire burns, but if you listen, if you trust, even destruction can be turned into life." He stepped to the largest fracture, running his hand along the stone. "This cavern isn't dead. It can still yield. We'll finish what we started. Not for power, for survival, for all of you." The boy lifted his shard high, its light glowing against the dark. "We will learn," he said. "We will listen as you taught." The miners murmured in agreement. Fear melted into resolve. For the first time, they felt not only awe of humans, but something deeper, trust. Over the next days, Mason and his team worked side by side with the aliens. Together they set charges, carefully measured, carefully timed. The boy stood at Mason's side, learning, guiding, teaching others what he had seen. When the final blast came, it was not sabotage, not chaos. It was harmony. The walls split open, revealing the heart of the cavern, a vast chamber of crystal glowing so brightly it drowned out the darkness. The miners gasped, their voices rising in wonder. The council bowed their heads, unable to deny the truth. Humanity had done the impossible. Mason turned to his team, his voice low. "This is why we came, to show them." The boy smiled, his eyes glowing in the crystal light. "You've given us more than stone. You've given us a new way to see." And as the humans prepared to leave, the cavern behind them pulsing like a living sun, one truth echoed through the stars. Humanity was not just another race.